Now, it is 10 o'clock and it's time for the big question. This is where you get the chance to get involved with my show through GB Views. My guest for tonight's big question is as remarkable for his life as he is for his clutch of Olympic medals. Kriss Akabusi rose to fame on the athletics track, where his greatest individual triumph was winning the gold medal in the 1990 European Championships. And he will probably always be remembered for helping Britain clinch the gold from the Americans at the 1991 World Championships in Tokyo. Born in Paddington, in West London, just a few yards from this studio, he was separated from his parents at the age of 4 as they went home to Nigeria. Raised by foster parents, he wasn't properly reunited with them until the age of 21. A career in the army revealed a unique athletic talent with which he became a true British sporting icon. And that doesn't even cover the half of it. Motivational speaker, TV presenter, and most importantly, bona fide national treasure. I'm delighted to welcome to GB News the one and only Kriss Akabusi MBE. Hi, Kriss.
Mark, thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Well, I just had to do your CV. It's an amazing life you've had. By the way, the MBE, I mean, do you ever tire of being introduced as Kriss Akabusi MBE?
Oh, no. I love it. It's amazing. I can remember now, I was in California getting ready for the Olympic Games in '92. I got a phone call from the then Prime Minister, John Major's office, saying, if you were put forward for an MBE, would you take it? I said, yeah, nice one. Put the phone down. Got it again. No, Mr. Akabusi, very seriously, would you? Of course. And it was an amazing day, going to Buckingham Palace, seeing the Queen, family in the gallery, my children looking for the Queen because she didn't have a tiara on, because she thought that she'd be a real princess. But what a privilege.
Yes, and what an accolade, considering your humble origins, Kriss.
Yeah, and that's a very good one, Mark, because at times I do struggle to believe it's actually happening or has happened to me. I do remember being in the children's home. I do remember crying every day for my mum. I do remember accepting one day that she wasn't coming and that I had to get on with it. But I was always, my name was Keezy from the children's home. And so when I think back at Keezy from the children's home, joining the army, introduced to athletics from Sergeant Mackenzie, becoming an Olympic athlete, getting on the rostrum, and then the Queen was amazing because, look, I don't know her, but the Queen, she was so well briefed. She knew about my time in the army, and she asked me a few questions, and it's just amazing for a person of my origin to think that the head family in the country, that the Queen herself knows something about you. So, yeah, a real honour.
You talked in the past about the fact that you changed your name and that was a turning point in your life. Is your story, Kriss, one of reinvention?
Yeah, I think life is about continual change and development and self-creation, self-revelation. As you enter into life, as you engage with life, it unfolds before you and reveals more about you in the here and now. But yeah, certainly, I had to make a real decision at 16 and a half. Who am I going to be? I know that I was worried about leaving the children's home. I wasn't fully equipped to deal with the world. I knew I couldn't live in bedsit land. And I chose to join the army. And in joining the army, with the infrastructure around you, there was a framework in order for me to actually try myself out and win and lose. And knowing that if I spent all of my money in the first few weeks, I still have food on my table, a roof over my head. And of course, it's a constant growing and development and a being, a sense of being. And it's continual. And I'm not the person who joined the army in 1975. I'm not the person who left athletics in 1993. I'm not even the person who crossed the Rubicon into the 21st century. We're always changing and developing, and I've had to decide who I'm going to be in this current dispensation.
Would you have had your remarkable sporting success if it wasn't for your challenging childhood? Was what you went through part of the strength that made you so successful?
Yeah, I think so, Mark. I mean, how do you ever know? Your life is your life. And they say it's not what happens to you that matters, it's what you make of what happens to you that counts. And there's no doubt that I had some challenges as a young person, but it's the only life I've had. So I just got on with it. I do know that when I joined the army and got into athletics, I wanted to, first and foremost, belong and to be a great representative, a good representative of the British Army, and then a good representative of British athletics. And this desire to belong, I've always felt an outsider. So as an outsider, you need to find out what the rules and regulations are. And I think that desire to know what the rules and regulations are and then implement them and be a great example meant that I always went forward, didn't go backwards. And I was very lucky. I had a physical disposition in athletics where, although I wasn't the most talented as far as sheer speed is concerned, my body didn't break down. So I got that layer in, kept on working hard, so I wanted to prove myself. And when it came to the big moment on the stage, I stood up, didn't fall down. Now, all of these striving, of course, came from the boy in the children's home, didn't know who he was, and tried to make a statement. So I guess so. I guess that's all part of the territory.
What were the circumstances around your early childhood, Kriss? Because I know that, your origins are in West London, in actually the environment of this studio in Paddington, but I believe that your parents moved back to Nigeria when you were 4. What happened? Why did that move happen, and why didn't you join them?
Yeah, so my parents were young Nigerian students who'd got a scholarship from their respective villages, met each other here on HMS Ghana, and went to study, got a little bit too familiar. Akabusi comes along. I don't think I was part of the programme, but I did come along. Mum and Dad looked after me and then a junior brother. Went back to their country in 62. Nigeria got independence in 1961. And the idea was they would leave me here in the UK because I was born with a British passport. I'll get a great British education. And then we will be the first cohort of Nigerians who were born and bred in the UK who could go back and build the infrastructure. Great idea. However, 7 years after independence, massive civil war, and the money that my parents were taking care of for my private fostering dried up. I don't think fostering wasn't very good for me. We had some quite abusive relationships. But anyway, they were paying for our fostering. It dried up. I was stuck on a train, ended up in Paddington, and the police picked us up and took me to a country home, children's home in Enfield, and I stayed there for the next 10 years. As I said, I did think about my mum all the time, and but realised one day that she wasn't coming, and that's the way. That was life itself. You got to get on with it. You got to crack on. What can you say? It is your life, isn't it? It's just what I say is we've all got our stories, and we can all do a poor me story, or we can look at the dark and fall in the gutter, or we can look at the stars, and go towards light. The children's home was good, warm, comfortable, a middle class setting. I knew how to do my hospital turns in my bed. I knew how to do, play settings around the table. We were taken care of materially, had all the basics, went to school, and I was one of the kids that actually went to school. I was a pain in the bottom, but I went to school. A lot of the kids from the children didn't go to school. I went to school. So I can see some many, many positives from my time in the children's home.
Yes, and you were reunited with your parents properly at the age of 21. Were you able to build a relationship at that point? And do you feel that there's still pain there from what you went through?
No, Mark, it was impossible. It was impossible to build a relationship because if you know anything about attachment psychology, your primary caregiver really does influence the way you attach to people in the world. And because of that abandonment, vulnerability, I've developed what's called a detached attachment style, disassociated. So when I remember my mum came to the country when I was 15. I was playing football in the garden with all the boys, and I could see my mum was coming because they told me she was coming, and she had all this great big flamboyant stuff. I could see it going past the hedge. And I just kept on playing football. One of the uncles came out, we just call them uncles. Keezy, your mum's in the office. I kept on playing football. They had to drag me into the office. And I looked at this woman, and it was just a woman, and absolutely no feeling, just looked at her. So, oh, Keezy, you're going to say something? So, well, yeah, have you got any sweets? I didn't know what to say. And there was no sense that there was a intimate relationship with, and even like the word saying mum, right? I couldn't say mum because the word mum, mummy, mother, it didn't mean anything. It had no substance. There's no grit to it. There was no sense in it. So I couldn't even say that. So, I mean, mum was very young when she left me. She was only 82 herself. But there was nothing there. And so eventually when I got back at 21, Mark, I tried to engage with her, but the Nigerian mentality was very different from the British mentality. So, and I'm not having a go at my mum or my dad. This is just the way things are. Over there, and certainly my sector, I had to give them things in order to receive any intimate care. Whereas in the UK, you have to care before you get given things. And so there was just a culture clash and everything. And we were disassociated. And I mean, mum and dad are both gone now. But no, it never ever happened for me.
Well, I think your story is a remarkable one. It's so inspiring. I mean, you're a national treasure, absolutely. A TV presenter, an Olympic legend, a motivational speaker, and I do hope you'll be joining me on the sofa here at GB News because you've got so many fans who are now really enjoying this interview. Final thought about your childhood and what happened to you when you were young before we get to viewers' questions. And it's about the future because, I mean, you've had all of this success. What about privately? Has it been difficult for you to build your own family life, given the unusual circumstances of your childhood?
I've been really, really fortunate. I've had two good mums of children in my life. I was married to Monica for 22 years. And I've got elder daughters, Ashanti and Shakira. And they understand the old man. They understand my foibles. I've now got two children from another lady that live with mum, but I'm intimately involved in their life. Alanam's my oldest son, he's 13, and Sakila, my little girl, 10. I take her to school every day. They understand their old man. I'm not the easiest person to be around, but I live on my own because I feel safest on my own. And, I'm not very good at that sort of interpersonal relations, but the greatest accolade for me is to be a papa. I will never abandon my kids. Never, ever will I abandon my children. I'll always be there for them in my way. I talk about life and philosophy, life also including death, very important. So I think my children know me intimately, but I'm not your run-of-the-mill dad, because I've also got my issues like us all. But yeah, being a father, I would consider myself a family man, even though I don't live with my family. They are everything to me. And, I look forward to the day, this is all romantic, when you're just about to shuffle off the mortal coil. And I've got 4 grandkids already for one of my daughters. But, in my fabled dream, I've got my children and my grandchildren. And the mother's there, and I'm able to say my last bits, and I hear these words, "Well done, Papa, you were a good and faithful servant."
And they will absolutely, most certainly say that, I'm sure, Kriss. They've got an unusual and unique dad, but a very, very special one. A flood of questions. I'll never get through all of them. Debbie has asked, what is Kriss's opinion, oh gosh, this is lively, on transgender women competing in women's sports? Conversation we had yesterday on this show. What do you think? We have a New Zealand weightlifter. It's a lady who was born a biological male, and she'll be lifting for New Zealand. Is it a yes or a no from you?
Well, Debbie, yeah, it's a tough. Look, what's that tough question? It's not a tough question for me. And I know I'll get slaughtered, but I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm happy for everyone to be whoever they are. That's clear. But there's a clear sense to me that if you had any male testosterone in you up to and past your 10th or 12th birthday, you're going to have a competitive advantage against any woman. You know, I mean, I've met some strong women in my life. You know, when I competed with Fatima Whitbread and Tessa Sanderson. They're strong girls, or women, should I say. But they're no match for a bloke. And I know when you've had the operation, technically you're not identifying in a gender role. I get that, but put the gender aside, the biology and the chemistry puts you at an advantage. So I mean, it must be tough. I know how hard athletes train. I've probably said too much already, but I know how hard athletes train. And it must be tough for a woman born as a woman, to step into the ring and compete in the arena against somebody who's got some competitive advantage in that sense. Hopefully something gets done about it, but there you go. Yeah, Deborah, you got me into trouble.
Not at all. You've never said too much on my watch, and you never will. Simon has tweeted, Kriss, do you think, like me, that it's a disgrace the Olympics is still on with no spectators?
No, Simon, I don't think like you, mate. No, I definitely don't think like you, Simon. Simon, whether it's your first Olympics or your third Olympics, the Olympics is very, very special. If it's your third Olympics, so like my third Olympics, it was business. I flew in, did my event, flew out. And yes, it's nice to have the spectators, but the most important people were my competitors. If it's your first Olympics, you know no different, and you're starry-eyed and you go into the village and you see all the other competitors, and it is special. So no, spectators are nice, but it's the fact that you can call yourself an Olympian. And once you're an Olympian, you are always Olympian. You've climbed Mount Olympus, where the air is rare and it's clean. You're up with the Olympian gods. It is amazing. And what would you rather? Would you rather that you took that away from this cohort? There's some people who will never get the chance again. In fact, there were some people who in 2020 never got the chance because in 2021 they perished. But there were some people, therefore, who matriculated in 2021 who wouldn't have done in 2020. Would you take that away from them? No, it's not a disgrace. It is the glory for these athletes.
Mahel has tweeted, Kriss, what does Kriss think of the new shoe technology? Does he think more world records will be broken at this Olympics because of it?
Yeah, hi, Mahel. That is a very good question. Yeah, now that is a good question. If I could link that almost to the transgender question, you know, when does technology get so far that it is an unfair competitive advantage? Now, you could say that if everybody competing on the track gets to use the same shoes, then okay, in the here and now, it doesn't matter because everyone's got the same opportunity. But the challenge is that you'll probably find is that some people have got these new super duper shoes and they'll be able to train all year in them, and therefore have got the beneficial incremental advantage week in, week out in their micro circles and macro cycles. So come to the games, they are that step ahead of everybody else. Now, the other argument may be, well, okay, how does that differ from athletes who are in cycles and rowing machines in the developed world compared to those who are in the developing world? Great question. Yeah, I think you might see a few records broken that don't really equate to the records that were done 20 or 30 years ago when you were using candle timing. You know what I mean? Because technology is so far. But then again, I guess progress is progress, and you have to take it on the chin.
Kriss, you'd have won medals with flip-flops, frankly.
Oh, I'm loving you, Mark Dolan.
You could have been wearing Wellington boots, and you'd have won stuff. Great question coming in from James. Thank you, James, for your email. As a former 400-metre runner, does Kriss think Karsten Warholm will break his own world record in Tokyo?
James, that's a phenomenal shout. I tell you what a man he is. Striking Viking. Absolutely amazing. 46.70. I mean, I was, in fact, my last race at Olympics in 1992 was when Kevin Young ran 46.78. And I remember coming out the blocks, round the first turn, down the back straight, Kevin Young just flew past me. And I thought, Akabusi, you're having a nightmare. The very first time ever in major championship, you're having a nightmare. I carried on tenaciously, come round the second turn into the home straight, and I realised, no, it wasn't me. 46.78. He was 10 metres down the track. I knew I was over. I can't imagine what it must be like to be Carsten Varholm. 46.70. He's got 3 of the fastest times ever the world's ever seen. And I've got no doubt in the heat of battle with the very finest athletes in the world, he's going to pop. He's going to bust that world record. And I can't even believe I'm contemplating this.